My name is Alex, and for 15 years I was the spine, the muscle, the heartbeat of Wilson Family Plumbing, a business that should have been my legacy. But the moment my father handed the brand new company truck to my younger brother, that was the moment the truth finally stabbed through all my excuses. It happened on a warm Sunday evening, after Travis announced his engagement to Jessica, a woman he'd known for 8 months, though Dad acted like she was royalty. Dessert had barely ended when Dad stood up, smiling like he'd been waiting his whole life for this moment. He held out a shiny pair of keys on a polished silver keychain with the company logo engraved on it. The entire table went silent. "Travis," he said, beaming with pride, "this new company truck, it's yours. Consider it an engagement present from your mother and me." Jessica gasped. Travis laughed and slapped the table like he'd won a game show. Mom even wiped a tear. They all looked so happy. Except me. I stared at those keys like they were a knife twisting slowly into my ribs. That truck was supposed to be mine, the one I had researched, negotiated, priced, and prepared for. The one I needed because my old 2010 rust bucket was one pothole away from snapping in half. I had assumed, foolishly, that all the years of loyalty and sacrifice meant something. I swallowed hard and said, "Dad, I need that truck for daily service calls. Mine can't even make it across town without stalling." Dad waved his hand like I was interrupting a commercial. "You'll be fine, Alex. You're good with repairs. Travis needs to present a professional image now that he's starting his adult life." Starting his adult life. As if my life hadn't been on hold for a decade and a half to keep his business afloat. No one looked at me, not even Travis. They were too busy celebrating. I drove home that night in my rattling, wheezing old truck, the windows fogged, the engine groaning like it wanted to die. Every vibration, every metallic creak felt like a reminder. You are useful, but you are not valued. And somewhere between the stoplights and the dark back roads, something inside me finally cracked. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, listening to the old house ticks and pipes. And for the first time, I allowed myself to imagine a life that didn't revolve around proving my worth to people who refused to see it. A life where I wasn't the shadow behind Travis's incompetence. A life where my skills weren't taken for granted. A life where I didn't have to beg for a truck I had practically bought myself. By midnight, I was scrolling through job listings. My hand trembled when I called Jack, a former colleague who had always told me I could do more. His voice lit up the moment he heard my name. "Alex. Man, with your experience you could write your own ticket. Brighton Plumbing's opening a commercial division. And they need someone exactly like you. You'd be a top contender." His words cut deeper than he realized, because in 15 years, no one in my own family had ever said anything like that. For the first time in my adult life, I felt hope, and for the first time in 15 years, I also felt anger. The morning after calling Jack, I walked into Wilson Family Plumbing with a strange, unfamiliar calm. The kind you feel when a storm is coming. But this time, it wasn't coming for me. I watched the employees move around the shop like they always did, relying on systems I created, schedules I built, clients I maintained. But no one noticed. No one ever noticed. Dad was in his office, reading invoices with his glasses halfway down his nose. For years, I had imagined walking in there and telling him I deserved more. A partnership, a raise, a sliver of the respect I had earned. But the words always died in my throat. Not today. I placed a neatly typed letter on his desk. He didn't even look up. "What's this?" "My 2 weeks' notice," I said. Dad slowly lowered the papers in his hands. He stared at me like I had spoken in another language. "Very funny, Alex," he said. "You done joking?" "I'm not joking." My voice didn't shake, even though I expected it to. He scoffed. Actually scoffed. "You're not leaving. Don't be ridiculous. I've accepted an offer at Brighton Plumbing." "Commercial lead." Dad barked out a laugh. "Alex, stop. You think some outside company is going to pay you what you get here? You think you'll have the same flexibility? The same family support?" Family support. The words hit me like a slap. I leaned forward. "You handed the new truck to Travis, Dad. The truck I needed. The truck I found. The truck that's essential for the jobs I run every day. Do you even hear yourself when you call that support? He stiffened. Your brother needs— No, I cut in. He doesn't need anything. You just give him everything, and I keep your company standing while you pretend he's doing something important. Dad's face turned red. Watch your tone. I have, for 15 years. Silence filled the room, heavy, suffocating. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, almost angry. You'll be back in a week. Brighton won't babysit you the way I do. I wish I could say his words hurt, but all I felt was clarity. I'm not looking for a babysitter, I said. I'm looking for respect. When I walked out of the office, something strange happened. Employees actually stopped what they were doing. Some looked confused. Others looked worried. They all knew I was the one who kept the ship afloat when it inevitably started sinking. Travis cornered me near the storage shelves, his face pale. What the hell, Alex? You're seriously leaving? Yeah, you can't. I don't know half the crap you handle. That's not my problem anymore. He grabbed my arm, desperate. Come on, man. Don't do this just because of the truck. It's not the truck, I said quietly. That was just the final slap. His mouth opened, but nothing came out. For once, he had no excuse. The next 2 weeks were surprisingly peaceful. I trained my replacements. I organized every binder, every file, every process, because no matter how they treated me, I refused to sabotage the business I had built. I left behind everything they needed. On my last day, Mom showed up unexpectedly. Tears welled in her eyes. Alex, please don't go. Your father, he's under a lot of pressure. Travis is going through things you don't understand. So am I said. But nobody ever asked. She reached for my hand. It's not too late to change your mind. I gently pulled away. It was too late years ago. Walking out of Wilson Family Plumbing felt like being released from a cage I didn't know I had locked myself in. And stepping into Brighton Plumbing felt like stepping into sunlight for the first time in a decade. My new boss, Kevin, greeted me with a grin. We're lucky to have you, Alex. I've heard the stories. Stories? I asked. He smirked. About how you practically ran Wilson single-handedly. I blinked, stunned. People outside my own family recognized my worth more than the people inside it. At Brighton, I wasn't invisible. My ideas mattered. My work mattered. I mattered. And as my life began to rise, Wilson Family Plumbing began to fall. Fast. Brighton Plumbing didn't just change my career. It changed my entire life. Kevin introduced me to the team as the best plumber in the county, and no one laughed. No one rolled their eyes. No one acted like I was exaggerating. They believed it. They respected it. And slowly, I began to believe it too. Within weeks, I implemented new scheduling systems, organized our commercial bidding strategy, and brought in clients who told me, Alex, wherever you go, we follow. For the first time, I had predictable hours. I got home before dark. I took up hiking. I started dating again. My life stopped revolving around emergencies created by Travis's laziness. Meanwhile, Wilson Family Plumbing was bleeding out. At first, it was small things. Missed appointments, a couple of angry reviews, confusion about scheduling. Then complaint after complaint flooded in. I'd overhear suppliers say things like, yeah, Wilson's not the same since Alex left, or they're losing it over there. I never smiled when I heard it. I didn't feel triumphant, just sad, and relieved that I wasn't there anymore. Then one evening I got a text from Travis. Bro, where's the file for the Riverside medical maintenance schedule? I can't find anything. I replied with 4 words. Check the operations binder. The one I made for them. The one I left organized and labeled. His response came 20 minutes later. Found it. THX. It was the politest message he'd sent me in years. A week later, I got another text. This one frantic. Alex, call me now. Emergency. I didn't. The next day, I learned why he'd reached out. Travis had mishandled a routine maintenance job at Riverside Medical Center, one of their biggest clients. A valve was left half open, a pressure gauge ignored, and the result was catastrophic. A flooded storage room with tens of thousands. DS in damages. Riverside cancelled their contract on the spot. Dad lost it. Technicians walked out. Customers posted photos of the disaster online. The company's Yelp rating plummeted from 4.8 to 3.2 in a matter of weeks. People talked about the fall of Wilson Family Plumbing like it was a local tragedy, and suddenly, the golden boy glow around Travis shattered. I heard, through one of the techs who defected to Brighton, that Travis had a full breakdown in the shop, screaming that he was set up to fail, crying that no one had ever trained him properly, admitting he never bothered to learn the systems I'd been begging him to look at for years. Dad apparently just stood there, stunned. Reality had finally hit him in the face. Their messages shifted from irritated to desperate. Mom called me in tears. "Alex, your father is drowning. Travis hasn't slept in days. Please, can you go help? Just for a little while." Jessica even reached out, voice trembling, saying Travis was convinced he'd ruined not just the business, but their future. Part of me wanted to cave. Part of me wanted to be the good son again. But a stronger part whispered, "You warned them. You gave them 15 years. They chose not to listen." So I stayed focused on the life I was building. Within 3 months, I closed 3 major commercial contracts for Brighton. Kevin handed me bonuses I had never even dreamed about. I bought my first new truck, my first home, my first real freedom. Every success felt surreal, not because it was huge, but because for the first time, I wasn't chained to guilt, or fear, or obligation. Then came the meeting. Dad called me, voice cracked and hollow. He asked politely if we could talk, not at the shop, not at the house, at a coffee shop, neutral ground. When I walked in, I barely recognized him. He looked smaller, defeated. Travis sat beside him, sunken, hands shaking. They weren't the confident, dismissive men I grew up with. They were broken. Dad slid a folder across the table, his hand trembling. Inside was a partnership agreement. 45% ownership. Full operational control. "Please," he whispered. "Help us save what's left. We need you, son." The old me, the one who lived on scraps of approval, would have taken the deal immediately, but that version of me died the night they handed my truck to Travis. I closed the folder softly and met their eyes. "I'm not coming back." Travis swallowed hard. "Alex, I didn't know. I didn't understand how much you were doing." "I know," I said. And that was the problem. Silence sat between us. Heavy, painful, honest. But I didn't want revenge. Not the kind that leaves ashes. So I gave them something else. Advice, names, resources, ways to rebuild, not out of obligation, but out of closure. As I walked out of the coffee shop, the sun hit my face, warm, bright, free, and for the first time, I truly understood something. The most powerful revenge is choosing your own life. 6 months passed. 6 months of breathing easier. 6 months of building something that finally felt like mine. Wilson Family Plumbing survived, but just barely. The 8-truck fleet was reduced to 3. The staff, down from 12 to 4. Dad stopped bragging at family gatherings. Travis stopped pretending he knew what he was doing. And Mom, she finally stopped begging me to come back after seeing how happy I'd become. But something strange happened during those months. Silence settled between us. Silence that wasn't angry, just tired. And slowly that silence softened. Holidays were awkward. Dinners were quiet. But they were civil, and for the first time, Dad listened when I spoke. Travis didn't joke at my expense. They were humbled, human in a way I'd never seen. Times Travis texted me technical questions. Not demands, not orders, just questions. And I answered. Not because I owed him anything, but because helping no longer felt like sacrificing myself. Meanwhile, my own life was growing faster than I ever imagined. Kevin called me into his office one Friday afternoon. He leaned back in his chair, grinning like he was about to reveal a birthday surprise. "Alex, how would you feel about running our second location?" I blinked. "You're opening a second location?" "Yup, demands through the roof. And I need someone I trust to run it. Eventually," he paused, letting the words sink in. "You could buy me out, make it yours." For a moment I couldn't speak. My throat tightened, not with sadness, with something far heavier. Relief. I walked out of his office and sat in the lot beside my new truck. My truck. staring at the sky. For years I had imagined running Wilson Family Plumbing, earning the partnership Dad promised, carrying on the family legacy. But now I realized something undeniable. I never needed their company. I never needed their permission. I never needed their validation. The thing I'd been chasing wasn't legacy. It was freedom. A couple weeks later, I drove past my family's old shop. The Wilson blue trucks looked faded in the winter light, like relics from a different lifetime. But I didn't feel vindictive. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt peaceful. I had spent 15 years letting my self-worth be determined by people who couldn't see past their own blind spots. 15 years proving myself to a father who only valued the son who needed the least of him. 15 years carrying a business that collapsed the moment I stepped away. But the collapse wasn't my revenge. My success was, because the ultimate revenge isn't destruction, it's evolution. Months after that, I sat with Travis at a family dinner. He looked at his plate and muttered, "You were right, you know. I thought Dad gave you all the important work because you were the favorite. I didn't realize he gave it to you because you were the only one who could do it." For the first time, I didn't feel bitterness. I just felt sad for the boy he used to be, the one who never learned responsibility because no one ever made him. He looked up, eyes glassy. "I'm trying now," he said. "Really?" I nodded. "Good. That's all you can do. No revenge, no gloating, just acceptance." Today, Brighton Plumbing's prepping the paperwork for our second location. Kevin says if the numbers look good, I'll be running it by spring. I've already imagined the logo, the trucks, the name on the door. Something entirely my own. And when customers ask why I left Wilson Family Plumbing, I never badmouth them. I just smile and say, sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. Because in the end, my story isn't about destroying a family business. It's about finally choosing myself after a lifetime of choosing everyone else. And when echoes of revenge tell stories like mine, people understand the truth. The deepest revenge isn't making them regret losing you. It's showing them you never needed them to begin with. In the end, Alex didn't burn Wilson Family Plumbing to the ground. He didn't sabotage it. He didn't seek chaos or revenge through destruction. He simply walked away. And that choice alone revealed more truth than any confrontation ever could. Because sometimes the most painful realizations don't come from arguments or betrayal. They come from watching the world continue without you, and realizing who actually kept it turning all along. Alex built a life defined not by obligation, but by respect, not by fear, but by purpose, not by chasing approval, but by recognizing his own worth. And in doing so, he proved a truth that echoes far beyond family businesses and broken promises. The greatest revenge is building a future where the people who underestimated you cannot follow. This is Echoes of Revenge, where pain becomes power, and walking away becomes the loudest victory of all. If you've ever been taken for granted, overlooked, or undervalued, if you've ever given everything and gotten nothing in return, then let Alex's story be a reminder. You don't have to set fire to the past to rise above it. You just have to choose yourself.